We're going to begin. We are 741 or not more in this room. I am Rachel Garbo Monroe, and I am privileged to serve as the president of the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation. And as far as I'm concerned, I have the best job because this afternoon I get to welcome all of you to this very happy occasion. I'd like to introduce you to the trustees of the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation: Don Weinberg, our chairman of the board, Barry Schloss, Robert Kelly Jr., and Ellen Heller. Our fifth trustee, Alvin Awaya, is in Hawaii and remains there today. Who could blame him? I would also like to recognize our former trustees, along with their spouses, Bernie and Beverly Siegel, Bob and Rosemary Kelly, and Shale Stiller. And representing a former trustee, Nathan Weinberg of blessed memory, his wife Lillian Weinberg. I would also like to recognize the leaders who will be speaking this afternoon. In a moment, Rabbi Dana Sorokin will welcome everyone to Bethel Congregation to this annual community event. Following Rabbi Sorokin, Trustee Ellen Heller will share with you the Foundation's year in review. Thank you all for joining us today to celebrate the work of the Weinberg Foundation over the past year. In fact, there are 741, at least, people in this room, and it's a testament to the fact that the Foundation's grants are having a major impact. Essentially, everyone present today represents some entity that has benefited from the Foundation. There are many elected and public officials joining us today, and some key professionals representing elected officials. I would like to recognize each of you, and I apologize first for not necessarily having this list in proper order, and second if I omit your name without meaning to. The Honorable Doug Gansler, Attorney General for the State of Maryland, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, Baltimore City, Congressman John Sarbanes, the Honorable Jack Young, President, Baltimore City Council, Mary Park Clark, Baltimore City Council, Sharon Green Middleton, Councilwoman, Kenneth Ullman, Howard County Executive, Greg Bernstein, State's Attorney for Baltimore City, Shirley Nathan Pulliam, Delegate, John Cardin, Delegate, Matt Gallagher, Chief of Staff for Governor Martin O'Malley, Marianne Kreitner, representing U.S. Senator Barbara Mikulski, Bailey Fine, representing U.S. Senator Benjamin Cardin, Antigone Davis from the Office of Maryland State Attorney Doug Gansler, Michelle Bernstein, representing Dan Morheim's office. We're sorry that Fred Bielfeld is not with us this afternoon, and we wish him condolences on the passing of his father earlier today. Anthony Barksdale from Baltimore City Police Department, Peter Bailenson, Howard County Department of Health, Robert Alpin, Department of Social Services, David Burney, Baltimore County Department of Economic Development, John Brennan, Maryland Department of Disabilities, Kate Burdell, Baltimore Homeless Services, David Goldman, Baltimore County Department of Health, Cheryl Goldstein, the Mayor's Office, Stephen Gossage, Baltimore County Police Department, Joe Hairston, Baltimore County Schools, Tommy Ayers, Mayor's Office for Human Services, Karen Kopp, Housing Authority of Baltimore City, Jade Nguyen, Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, John McDonald, Housing Authority of Baltimore City, Calliope Parthimus, Office of City Council and the Mayor, Eileen Rosenthal, Maryland Department on Aging, and Karen Sitnick, the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. Thank you all for being here. Again, if there's anyone I missed, please forgive me. There are many community leaders joining us today, far more than we could take the time to recognize. Several of you have traveled from out of town, and we would like to thank you for making this special trip. Steve Schwager and Daryl Friedman are here representing the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, or JDC, or the 911 of the Jewish world. JDC is the Foundation's single largest nonprofit partner. There are several other guests here from Israel, Canada, and the states of Texas, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and of course, the great state of Maryland. Thank you all for joining us. We would also like to recognize a few of the leaders who have partnered with the Foundation for many years. the Associated, Mark Terrell and Bruce Schulk, Catholic Charities, Bill McCarthy, the Baltimore Community Foundation, Tom Wilcox, and from the Association of Baltimore Area Grantmakers, Betsy Nelson. Today's event also includes several Israel Mission alumni. We are proud to continue to lead the annual Weinberg Foundation Influentials Mission to Israel, and we would like to thank prior partners and prior funders, including the Baltimore Jewish Council and the Meyerhoff family, especially Terry Rubenstein. Finally, I would like to recognize our superb staff from the Foundation. I would like to ask the 22 members of the Weinberg Foundation's Baltimore office to stand or wave and be recognized. I don't know too many $2 billion organizations that are managed by such a small professional team and managed so well. Thank you all for another great year together. A special thanks to Craig Demchek and Yvonne Sporer for their coordination of today's event, and thanks to my colleague Arlene Hayden, recently promoted to Chief of Staff, who keeps everything running smoothly and without whom nothing would get done. In order to move the agenda along, we will not be having speakers introduced individually. You have a program that serves that purpose. So I think that officially concludes the prior introductions and the proper introductions that we need to make this afternoon. Thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the program. Rabbi Sorokin.
As a rabbi at Bethel Congregation, on behalf of our clergy, our staff, our board, and our congregational family, I am honored to welcome you all here today to Bethel for your annual community gathering. On behalf of our entire congregation and our community, I want to thank you. To the Weinberg family, for sharing the blessings and the resources that you have been given with ineffable generosity and vision. I want to thank you, Rachel, and all of the foundation staff and trustees who devote your energy to transforming our neighborhoods and our workforce, our human health services, our educational systems, and the lives of older adults, the financially disadvantaged, and the vulnerable individuals, families, and communities that are impacted by the work that you do. This community and the lives of countless individuals and families would simply not be the same without you. There was once a powerful comic strip that I saw that showed a picture of two men sitting on a park bench together, contemplating the world around them. One of the men looked at his friend and he said, "You know, sometimes I just want to holler out to God. Do you see this world filled with all of this abuse, poverty, neglect, and suffering? Why aren't you doing anything about it, God?" His friend paused for a moment and responded, "Well, why don't you?" "Because," he explained, "I'm scared that God will ask the same thing of me." The truth is that we live in a world with so many needs that it can truly be overwhelming. And yes, it might be easier to blame God, to blame our government, and to blame others for the injustices that surround us. But the Weinberg family, through blood and through extension, you are different. You all are here today because you know in your hearts, in your minds, and in the deepest recesses of your souls that not seeing those who are suffering, not hearing the cries of those who are hurting, and not increasing the dignity and sense of purpose of those who are diminished in our community and in our world is not an option. because you know and because we all see firsthand through the work of this foundation that when a family and a group of people come together with caring hearts, with devoted minds, with hopeful spirits and resources, that mere human beings can, in fact, truly make a difference and really can transform our world. And so to the Weinberg family and to all of you who carry on this mission, may this day allow you the space to celebrate all of the things that you have already accomplished. And may we all find the inspiration in today, in this gathering, to lead us into better tomorrows. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will.
I never speak without water. I said to someone, in 26 years, I never went on the bench without a glass of water. So I'm Ellen Heller, and I welcome all of you on behalf of the Weinberg Foundation. As Rachel said, I think twice, there are at least 741 people in attendance today, and I assume most of you are here because in some way the Weinberg Foundation has had an impact on people you serve, and that is the focus of my remarks this afternoon, impact. The impact philanthropy can have on individuals and on the problems and challenges facing our communities. In particular, I want to talk about how we can increase the impact of our giving through collaborations and partnerships. The Weinberg mission, as many of you know, is dedicated to assisting the poor and meeting their basic needs: housing, health, nutrition, education, and employment. Our ultimate aim is to provide support so that individuals can be functioning, self-sustaining, and contributing members of our communities. There is a well-known Talmudic saying, if all the afflictions of the world were assembled on one side of the scale and poverty on the other, poverty would outweigh them all. And Harry Weinberg realized this and made a deliberate decision that his legacy would be solely to care for the poor. Why? A probable reason is that he was raised in poverty. The brilliant billionaire entrepreneur in real estate and mass transit came to the United States in 1912 with his family when he was 4 years old. The young immigrant dropped out of elementary school and worked in the family business. It was his grit, ingenuity, and business acumen that ultimately led to his great financial success. But he remembered and cared for those with needs. I know he cared because I spent many evenings with Harry sharing stories of people who came in court, best described as down and out. He never had his fill of those stories: the prostitute, the shoplifter who took soap, the mother who was the victim of abuse, and the endless drug addicts. It is 21 years since his death, and it is important to recall not only his generosity, but the fact that Harry Weinberg cared for those the foundation assisted. He took great pride in visiting many of the facilities that he sponsored. This billionaire, who was described as all business, was deliberate in his decision that his money be, in his own words, all for the poor. Since Harry's death on November 4th, 1990, it seems that the world has become more complicated, yet at the same time more connected. A disturbing recent change is the number of poor Americans. According to the figures from the United States Census Bureau released this past month, the number of poor Americans hit a record 49 million, or 16% of the whole population in 2010, and poverty rates for the elderly, Asians, and Latinos were higher. The largest increase occurred among people over 65. 1 in 6 older adults is poor. The rise of poverty in our country is dramatized by the increasing disparities of income between the poor and the wealthy, and by the number of individuals and families living below the poverty line. Recent statistics published in the United States revealed that the 400 wealthiest Americans have a greater combined net worth than the bottom 150 million Americans. Also, the top 1% of Americans possess more wealth than the entire bottom 90%. This alarming disparity in income has terrible consequences and is exacerbated by our high unemployment and foreclosure rates and government budget shortfalls. So, in this unsettling time, how can philanthropy help? Or to use my word for this afternoon, how can philanthropy make a positive impact? We know that philanthropy cannot replace the government social service network or help everyone in need. We cannot be the superhero that will solve all